Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. And thank you for joining us for our customer webinar, Fall in Love with Tasktop Integration Hub. My name is Sarah Ryan, and I'm delighted to be the moderator for this webinar. Presenters today are Sean Minto, the Senior Director of Technical Services and Support at Tasktop, as well as Neil Beatty, our Customer Success Manager. Many of you have already worked with both of them, so I'm not going to do a full introduction. Instead, I'm just going to hand things right over to Neil.
Hi everyone, and happy Valentine's Day first and foremost. I want to thank you for joining us. As Sarah said, my name is Neil Beatty, and I am your trusty Customer Success Manager. And I'm joined by Sean, who many of you already know. And thanks again to Sarah for enabling this webinar. So today we want to celebrate Valentine's Day by making you fall in love with Tasktop all over again. And to do this, we're going to introduce you to Tasktop Integration Hub and show you how it works and how it relates to the Tasktop Sync that you already know and love. So Sync is still the best product on the market, but Hub is the culmination of everything we've learned from you guys about what it is that you're looking for. Hub is a powerful new tool, and we're excited to bring it to our customers who have already seen the benefits of Tasktop integration. So our agenda for today. I'll talk a little bit about the 10-year journey of Tasktop that has culminated in this release of Tasktop Integration Hub, and we'll talk about Hub as a new integration experience and how it applies to a specific customer example and how Hub enables value stream integration. Then Sean will walk us through a demo of Tasktop Integration Hub, highlighting the enhanced functionalities as it relates to Tasktop Sync and showing us how Tasktop makes that scalability and efficiency possible. After the demo, we'll talk about timeline for releases and migration planning, and we'll touch on the readiness assessment as part of the planning process, as well as a value stream integration diagram that will result from that planning. Finally, we'll talk about training resources, address some frequently asked questions, and as Sarah mentioned, we'll have time at the end to answer your specific questions about your integration needs. So to get started, Tasktop, the 10-year journey. This is our 10th year at Tasktop, and we've been through a lot in those 10 years. But really, our Sync flagship product release in the fall of 2011 was where we really started the trip that we're on now. As far as best-in-class point-to-point integration, understanding and filling that need in the market. But we also understood our need for scalability. So the new platform, really work began in 2013, and the initial release in 2014 of Tasktop Data represented kind of an initial incremental release of what the platform is. So we released Gateway and last year in January, also on the same platform. So, Gateway allowed for connecting your DevOps tools to the rest of your lifecycle. So now that we've integrated synchronization into Hub as of January, that's kind of what Tasktop Integration Hub is the culmination of all of that in one house. So the net effect is that the new platform isn't really new at all. It's been live and battle tested since the Tasktop Data release in 2014. But now that we've added Sync, it's a whole new beast. So Sync users will get the benefits of a new, more intuitive user experience without that first released risk. So here you see Tasktop Integration Hub. And now as far as our connector growth, we do have 51 connectors as of January. So you can see that our connector growth has grown very fast as well, and what we're trying to connect and how we're trying to help our clients. So Tasktop Integration Hub, as I said, it's a new experience, especially for current Sync users. If you've been using Data or Gateway, then you're already familiar with the platform. But now with Hub, you have Sync capabilities within a new UI, and it guides you through 4 key concepts for flexible, scalable integrations. Now, Sean's going to cover these more in depth, but I'll just gloss over them right now. Repositories, obviously, you're familiar with. The end systems that house the artifacts used in an integration. And the next 2 things, it's the collections and models. That's really the new thing. So collections is a set of artifacts within your repository that you want to flow as part of your integration. And that enables models, and models here are really the good stuff. By organizing artifacts into collections, we're able to build models that are the basis for integrations. And Sean will talk more about it, but that's what adds to scalability and flexibility. And then finally, we have the integrations themselves, with which you're familiar. But now they're easier to set up, easier to maintain, and easier to report on, and all within context. So I want to cover some of the benefits of Tasktop Integration Hub, and then in just a second I'll kind of apply them in a more real-world setting with a specific customer. So using Hub, we can reduce the number of Tasktop instances necessary. tons of mappings are reduced to a few integrations. Because collections standardize the artifacts to be synced and then feed into integration models, new projects can be added in minutes. And more than that, new integrations themselves can be added within minutes. The use of models also enforces consistency of the artifacts among teams and projects. Management overhead is reduced because there's no more Tasktop scope queries to manage. Hub uses UI-based filtering rather than server-side queries, and this makes setup more intuitive. And Hub enables reuse and management of your whole integration landscape using consistent concepts, all within that one intuitive user experience. So how does that apply specifically to a real customer? Well, here we have a top 10 bank that worked through our early testing of Tasktop Integration Hub. So in reducing their Tasktop instances, they'll move from 3 instances of Tasktop Sync to 1 instance of Tasktop Integration Hub. They had 211 mappings in production, and that'll be simplified to 4 integrations. And not only that, new projects can be added very quickly. And we like to think of models here as the secret sauce to the power of Hub. And it enforces consistency across those teams and creates better traceability across those tools. And finally, that reduction of scoping queries and use of filtering rather than server-side queries makes for more efficient interaction within repositories for sure. That is to say that, scoping queries. So the high-level benefits, again, just to recover, that modern web UI, a completely redesigned user experience, an intuitive configuration, sets up in minutes, and it easily scales up to a bunch of projects. So those are the real efficiency benefits you get. The other things you see here are things that you're already experiencing with Tasktop Sync right now. So everyone knows that the only way to improve a process is to look at it holistically. In the case of software, to look at it as an integrated software delivery value stream. So with Tasktop Integration Hub, you can see the full journey of a request as it becomes a deliverable, and that is value stream integration. So there's 3 real benefits to value stream integration. That is increased visibility for real-time insight into the state of application and value creation, all the way from ideation to production. Second is increased automation, that frictionless flow of information across a unified delivery lifecycle, and further reduces manual work even from Tasktop Sync. And third, it creates a modular tool infrastructure. With Hub, you can quickly add and remove tools from your value stream as business conditions change. I mentioned the value stream integration. It's more of a salesy thing, but when you see the value stream integration diagram, and it'll put a little bit more of this in context for you. So now I want to turn it over to Sean to lead a demonstration, a little bit deeper dive into Tasktop Integration Hub.
All right, thank you, Neil. So we'll just get everything set up here.
There you go. Should be you.
Great. So the first thing I actually wanted to go over is just a little bit more detail about kind of these 4 kind of new key concepts. So there's something like the repository, which everyone is fairly aware of already. Within Tasktop Sync, you set up repositories which connect to your different systems. So really that concept hasn't changed. And one other thing that hasn't changed is that the underlying kind of way that we connect to the systems is the same. So we're ending up using the exact same connectors that we did within Tasktop Sync. And really one of the big reasons here is that we do have this idea of the integration factory. And it's basically a way that we've been able to automate this exponential problem. So within a single connector, there's kind of this idea of a spec for an integration. And we're running 3,300 plus API tests just running against that spec. So overall, throughout the course of kind of a day against all of our connectors, we're running over 500,000 purely API tests. So this has been something that we've been working on for quite a few years, and that is the base of kind of all of our products, right? So that's the base of Integration Hub. It's also the base of Sync. So you can kind of rest assured that if you're connecting to, let's say, RTC right now or Jira right now, that you're still going to be able to connect with Integration Hub because it is the same underneath the scenes. The next concept is this idea of collections. So a collection, your best way to think about that, if you're thinking about Tasktop Sync, is that it's a query. It's basically the way that you define your set of artifacts that you want to flow as a part of that integration. So they're going to be type-based, and then you end up mapping these collections to a single model. The really cool thing about collections, though, is unlike Sync, where you might set up a query per project, one collection will actually house the artifacts for multiple projects. And you'll see a little bit later about how you can actually do some kind of routing and connecting up multiple projects within a single integration. Now, the big thing here is the big kind of difference in way of thinking with Integration Hub compared to Tasktop Sync is this idea of a model. You can kind of think of this as the secret sauce for actually making these integrations kind of standardized, more flexible, scalable. So your easiest way to think about this is that you have kind of different languages and different translators between each language. So you have all these point-to-point connections between all the different languages. Once you put a model in place, though, it's much easier to reason about your integrations and move forward because you're only setting up a single translation from each of the different languages. And then you're having this common model that you can use throughout basically the entire set. So the same thing is true within Integration Hub, that you end up with this kind of normalized definition of an artifact. So you have a model that can be just a defect model. And it's really there to help you kind of have this efficient flow of data so that you can decide what information you want in your model, and then on top of that, you can decide what information you want to flow how in each of your different integrations. So what this really does is it provides you with the scalability of integrations, because now you can have hundreds or thousands of projects within that collection that are all mapping to a common model, and then you can use that model to be able to build out those integrations that you're actually interested in between the different systems. And in the end, it kind of reduces your overall administrative costs. So once you really kind of put the models and collections together, you're starting to talk about what you might consider a mapping. Now the difference here though is that you're mapping from your repository to a model, so you end up kind of doing it on both sides. But at that point, then you can kind of scale infinitely, because if you're using a common template on each of your different systems, you can easily just add the different projects and it's just going to be there and already mapped automatically for you. When you look at this idea of integration, you can also consider this to be like your task mapping, because this is really what actually does the work. So you could be taking information from one or multiple collections and routing it to another collection. So a lot of times when you're looking at synchronization, you're talking about just one collection routing to another collection, like connecting up your QC, your HP QC defects with your JIRA defects. But it's all about actually hooking those things together and performing that integration. Now, one big kind of difference with Integration Hub over Tasktop Sync is the more flexibility with integrations. So you have this one Integration Hub, and you can have many different integrations in it. And I'll show you a little bit of that today, too. The big, one of the big things here is that now you have the ability to synchronize, which is what you would have with Tasktop Sync. But you also have the ability to do things such as this idea of gateway or data reporting. Gateway is the idea where it's actually kind of like a universal API, where you define your model and you can actually interact against that model, which in turn will go and either update or create items in your endpoint repository. So just to show you a little bit about how this all fits together, I'll just flip over here to my screen. And one of the biggest differences that you can see now, though, is that Tasktop Integration Hub is actually a web-based product. So it's something that can be administered by multiple users. It can sit on a server in the background and just run behind the scenes. Now, once you're in Tasktop Integration Hub, you'll actually get to see the ability to kind of set up all these different key concepts. And I'm actually going to work a little bit backwards. So normally when you want to set this up, you need to start with your repository and work your way over to integrations. But once you're looking at your specific integrations here, you can see that I actually have this idea of a gateway collection. This is where you could send in a REST request, and it would actually go ahead and create a new JIRA defect. At the same time, we're reporting. So we're taking all the information out of kind of the JIRA as well as HP ALM projects and putting it into MySQL so that you can go ahead and start building up that value stream reporting and determining where kind of your slow places of development are. Maybe this is computing your idea of cycle time. And then if I go and look at the synchronization, I'm actually going to go into this one. This is where I've defined how I actually want to set up my integration between HP ALM defects and JIRA defects, similar to what you would do today for a task mapping. Now if I go into this additional information here, this is the collection. So this is where you define how you want your information to flow. So you can see right now I only have a single project, but it is really easy to come in here and say that I want to add another project. So based on that same template, I've now gone ahead and just added another project to this collection that I could then use in the integration. So it's going to be really simple to help scale this out as you're growing your integration needs. Within all this kind of same UI here, you can go dig down and do that additional mapping. So no different than in Tasktop, you come in here and you decide what information you want to map. So I say that I want to map severity and use a static field value. Maybe I want to do description, which is going to have rich text. We can actually do additional definitions, like for the status here. You can go ahead and you can actually easily set up your mapped options with just simple clicks of your mouse, basically, and connecting items. This all hinges on the idea that you actually do have a model, though, in place. So this is one of the kind of core concepts that you really need to think about when you're setting up your integration, because the model really is this kind of center of the entire world of Integration Hub. So you can have multiple different models here, but the way we like to think about it is that you end up with your standardized defect model that you would have within your organization. So that would have the list of fields that you care about from your different integration perspectives. So you can see on here I actually have kind of a list of fields that I would care about for synchronization, but I have also ended up using this exact same model and used that within my reporting and decided that maybe there's only a few of these fields that I want to use. So you do get that additional flexibility here as well, and you can easily define and extend your models to meet those needs. And it's as simple, yet again, as coming in here and just adding in new fields or configuring the existing fields. So if I go back to my integrations, you saw that I had actually added that new project to the HPALM collection. Now, inside of here, you can easily come in and decide that I want to actually route that project now. So now I've basically brought in this new project to be used as a part of different integrations, and now I could decide that I want to actually map this project up with the same project over on the JIRA side. So now I've actually immediately integrated two HP projects with a single JIRA project, and that was all done with just a couple clicks of the button here while we were doing the demo. So it was nice and easy to be able to go ahead, and it allows you to do that quick scaling along the way. But you still do have all of that power underneath the scenes that we've had along the way with Tasktop Sync, where you can do things like decide how you want specific fields to actually flow. So even though my model has a whole bunch of items in it, there are fields that you may not actually be updating between each. There's fields that you may want to change to be one-way or two-way. So within Integration Hub, you get all that flexibility and ability that you had within Tasktop Sync, but at the same time, you can now look at kind of the easier scaling as well as using additional integrations. So that's kind of the core of what I wanted to go over from the point of view of the actual Integration Hub demo. But one other really interesting thing that we've done with this release is we've actually made some fairly major changes to how we do our documentation. So right now, we've actually got a new site that's called docs.tasktop.com. And this is where we put up all of our Integration Hub documentation. We're looking at moving our sync documentation there as well. But the really cool thing here is that there's some very special documentation that's only available to customers only. And it can be used for both Sync and Hub because it's actually some deeper documentation on our connectors specifically. So in the past, you might have had to reach out to support to say, hey, does JIRA support subtasks? This information is now all available to you as a customer. The one thing that I'll actually show you here is that you do need to get an access token to unlock this content. You'll notice that if you go to the site, it'll actually prompt you to send an email to support. You can send it to us, or you can, the next time you get a license, it'll also be included with that. And it's something you can share with people internally within your organization as well, so that they can get access to this information. So just to show you a little bit about how this works, if you go to my.tasktop.com, once you have an account here, you can actually go ahead and sign in, and then you'll have access to this My Resources down in the bottom right-hand corner. Once you have that activation code, you can easily put it in here, and then it'll grant you basically access to this connector information. Now on this connector information is where all the really cool stuff actually is. Here you can see that I'm actually looking specifically at the Atlassian Jira connector, and there's going to be some links to some videos, some description of the tool as well as key benefits, and even goes as far as saying what are the plugins supported, how do we support those, do we support attachments, time tracking, all that additional information that you may end up asking. I'm just going to try and find one more section here. That you may end up asking to support is now available at your fingertips to really help you be able to understand and build up those integrations. So here you can see that there's a list of supported artifacts for the different systems that are there, as well as the different supported artifacts or attribute types. So now instead of not knowing what you can do, you can easily take this information to understand how you're going to grow it, especially as you're going to different and new tool sets. So Neil, I'll actually pass this back to you.
Fantastic.
There you go.
All right. And I'll turn my camera back on. Okay, so Sean, thanks for that. It's a good look into what Tasktop Integration Hub is, how it relates. So now let's talk a little bit about migration, now that you have fallen in love with Tasktop all over again. So for new deployments in terms of migrations, for new deployments and new integrations, you can use Tasktop Integration Hub right now. It's ready to go. But for your existing deployments, or redeployments, which is what a migration would be, we'll work with you to start targeting those migrations after April. And we'll help you all along the way. And that's really the thing to remember here, is that you can start using it now, but when it comes time to migrate existing stuff over to Tasktop Integration Hub, if you choose to do so, then we'll handhold you every step of the way. You'll have two options. It's kind of a pay some money, save some time, or pay some time and save some money. Those are the two options. So there will be a do-it-yourself option, but we will certainly offer paid migration or redeployment services. Chances are there'll be a combination of the two. We can certainly make that work as well, because our goal through this migration, if you choose to migrate over to the new product, is going to be successful usage, minimize disruption, and the fact that we'll be there with you every step of the way to help minimize that disruption. So kind of the schedule for what's going to happen. We released on January 31st. Obviously, we're here on Valentine's Day for the webinar. So between now and the end of April, it's when we're going to be doing our planning. So we'll be reaching out to you with, to conduct a Tasktop Integration Hub readiness assessment and start doing that migration planning involving our solutions teams. Ongoing, starting now until forever, you'll be able to attend training classes. We do have training available on Integration Hub, the intro training, and the advanced and intermediate training are both on their way shortly. And then after April 25th, towards the end of April into May, we'll start that migration process of existing customers over to Tasktop Integration Hub. So that readiness assessment that I talked about, what that'll be essentially, it's a really big health check. It's we want to get updated lists and version numbers of your repositories, check on your planned updates, see what sync version you're currently running, how many mappings you're running, how many scripts, what your scripts are used for. We want to make sure that we have your sync admins identified so that we know who we're working with and have better points of contact. But more to the point, I guess in an overall sense, we'll be talking to you about your specific integration scenarios and your ongoing versus pipeline projects and the future of your integration needs. And this will be the starting point to develop a real plan for migration that fits your needs. And it will help us create your value stream integration diagram, which is this. This is kind of a generic one. But whether and when you decide to migrate to Hub, you will walk away with one of these diagrams. We've seen customers print these out and post them in their offices or in conference room walls. They're a great visual representation of your landscape. It helps you talk about your tool landscape and processes for developing and delivering software. You can laminate it and put it up everywhere. We have customers that do it. It'll always be a great reference and resource for you to know where you are with your automation and integration efforts. And combined with that readiness assessment, you'll get, like I say, a great big health check for your current Tasktop deployment. In those that we've already done, we've been able to give guidance and advice on how to improve mappings, utilize new features to get something done, etc. So the point is here that we will get deep with you into your integration scenarios. So this is a list of the tools that we have that we integrate. In green, you'll see all the lifecycle integration tools, the lifecycle tools, and then in purple, you'll see the, in yellow, you'll see the DevOps tools, and then in purple, you'll see the database and data warehouse tools. The blue ones that you see are the ones that are new as of January for SharePoint and Salesforce Service Cloud and SmartBear. There are a couple tools that are not, they're available on Sync now that are not quite yet available on Hub, but they will be in future releases for sure. Notable which are Sparks, EA, and Bugzilla. So that Tasktop Integration Hub training that I mentioned, we do have the basic training classes available. It's a 2-hour course covering those core concepts, introduction to models and collections, integration styling, and then testing and verification. Well, the training for tomorrow is full, but we do have more trainings available through the rest of March. And we will be having, like I said before, that intermediate and advanced schedule coming soon. So certainly you can go to tasktop.com/training and navigate to the Integration Hub for times and dates of DevOps and database training as well. So essentially those are the gateway and data products, which are now add-ons to Tasktop Integration Hub. So some of these frequently asked questions, we'll have time at the end, like I said, to ask your own questions for sure and get more in depth as you want to. But here's some of the baseline questions that we want to address real quick. The first one is, how do I get it? Well, the first thing you can do is contact me or your sales rep. We have to do a little bit of paperwork because it's a new product and not just an upgrade. And then we'll send you a license key. Then you can download it and start playing with it. And it's that easy. Next question is, do I have to move over? No, you certainly do not. There are no plans to end-of-life Tasktop Sync, and you can continue to use it. All connected development done in Hub is also done in Sync, so there will be no deficiency in terms of that development. If you're a Tasktop Data or Gateway customer, you've already been using Hub, and you'll see a name change, but there's no real switch over. Do I have to move everything over, or can I do this one project at a time? Well, project by project is definitely how we recommend. You can turn off a Sync project one by one as you roll it out in Hub, and they certainly run fine in parallel. There's no problem there. They play well together. Will there be any functional difference in the integrations that I already have running? That's a resounding no. Customers will be able to accomplish their already existing integrations using use cases using Tasktop Integration Hub, so no worries there. Now, this is funny to me. We love Hub. It's amazing. It's a very powerful tool, but it's funny that in our efforts to make integration simpler, we've added words to the product name. So what was formerly known as a Tasktop Sync Pro is now Tasktop Integration Hub Pro with Lifecycle Tool Integrations. Tasktop Sync is now Tasktop Integration Hub Enterprise Edition with Lifecycle Tool Integrations. And then the Gateway add-on for Tasktop is now the DevOps Tool Integrations add-on for Tasktop. What was known as Data is the Database Integrations add-on for Tasktop. And when you combine all those, when you have Tasktop Sync, Tasktop Data, and the Gateway add-on module for Sync, that equals the new Tasktop Integration Hub Ultimate Edition, the unlimited, the top. So what are our next steps? Well, the first thing we want to do is schedule some time to talk. We will be reaching out to you, but if we don't hear from you, you will certainly hear from me. And the thing is that if you really want to get started now, well, don't wait for me to contact you. We have a lot of customers. We have to, there's a lot of conversations that we need to have. So press us. We're happy to respond. The next thing you can do is request a personalized demo. You can just go to that URL that you see right there, go.tasktop.com/demo request to request a personalized demo. And you can attend a training. Those trainings are available at the schedule that you saw before. We'll certainly be able to get that schedule out to you again. So again, I will be reaching out to you, but if you want me to reach out, if you want to reach out to me sooner, then bring it. Let's do it. Let's get moved. So that concludes the presentation for today. Here is my email, Sean's email, and obviously how to get to support and to find out more about Tasktop Integration Hub features. And at this point, I want to turn it back over to Sarah and for questions.
Great. Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Sean, as well. We did have a couple of questions come in. And if you haven't already and you do have questions, make sure to type them into the questions panel on the GoToWebinar control panel, and we will get those answered. So we had a question about kind of how long this migration takes. I know you said, Neil, that we recommend doing project by project. So maybe, Sean, do you have any guidance on how long that would take?
Yeah, so the migration a lot is kind of like a deployment. So the best way to think about it is that's the same as the deployment. So it can be really quick. It could take as little as a week. It could take multiple months depending on how it all kind of fits in. Because some of the things that you need to think about, especially with the migration, are looking at actually developing that common model and then looking at actually doing the move over of mappings and however many mappings you have. So it may only take a week for the first, but it may take a while to schedule the rest. One other thing to just remember along the way here too that I don't think was explicitly pointed out is that you can always leave your existing mappings on Tasktop Sync as well if you don't want to migrate them right away, or maybe you want to wait a little bit. But you could build up new integrations on Integration Hub so that you can start utilizing the new tool moving forward for anything new that you're developing within your organization.
Thank you. We kind of had another question about timeline as well. So this customer said that they have they have a pretty full project load, right? So there are only kind of specific times when they would be able to handle the migration. So I know Neil covered the schedule a little bit. Is there any flexibility in when the customers can choose to start that migration?
Yeah, so basically we're always going to work with our customers to figure out what the best time frame is. So we do have the flexibility. The biggest thing is to reach out to us, work with us. We'll figure out what the best time frame is and how we can make that fit in with your time frame as well. Because we do understand that a lot of customers have specific time windows. They may also have kind of no work in certain periods of the year as well. So please do just work with us and we will help with all the migration needs that you have.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to reiterate too, is that we will work with you. We'll make your schedules, our schedules. And we're so excited about the product and all the implications of it that we're super motivated to not only help you use Hub if you want to use Hub, but make it successful, make the transition easy, and really help you all along the way. Can't stress that enough.
Okay, the next question is about the readiness assessment. So should they be reaching out to you for the readiness assessment, or should they just wait for you to contact them?
Well, that's up to you. That's totally up to you guys and how fast you want to make the transition. Really, for the readiness assessment, that's going to help us determine when the transition would be right for you, if the transition's right for you. It's a conversation that we need to have. So if you want to know sooner than later, then by all means reach out to me. But I will be reaching out to you. It's just there's a lot for me to cycle through. So it'll be quicker if you reach out for me, unless you happen to be at the top of my list. So I would say that you'll definitely hear from me, but reach out if you want to. It'll happen either way.
Okay. We have a configuration question as well. So can Tasktop Integration Hub run on Linux RHEL7?
Yeah, so Tasktop Integration Hub, if you actually look at the core technology, it is just based on Tomcat. So it's pretty standard, and it's actually much easier to run on Linux now than Tasktop Sync ever was.
Great. Let's see. We did have one question about the cost to upgrade and to move over. So I don't know if you wanted to maybe handle that, Neil. I imagine that would be a discussion that they would have to have with sales rather than you in particular.
Oh, potentially, yeah. By and large, though, a lot of our customers, I'll say most of our customers, are eligible to get the Integration Hub without any paying anything extra. You're already eligible for it. So because it is a new product, there is some paperwork we have to push. It's like a $0 order form that essentially enables you on the new product. But essentially it would be replacing Sync with Tasktop Integration Hub at $0. So there wouldn't be any cost as far as just getting Hub. The paid migration services, again, that would have to have that conversation to know exactly what that's going to entail on a customer by customer basis. But certainly we're trying to make it as easy for everyone as possible. So we would try to minimize that cost, obviously. But I don't have any more concrete answers than that. We will have to have that conversation.
Definitely. So if anyone has any other questions, please get them in now. Otherwise, we will start to wind things up. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Sean and Neil for presenting. You see everything on the screen right there. With this new release, we've put out a number of videos and a lot of helpful tools. I know Sean ran you through some of the documentation as well. There's a lot of great new stuff on the website, so take a look. Request a demo if you want to see something personalized, or you can kind of self-serve as well. There's everything out there, and you'll be receiving a recording of this presentation as well as a little bit more information via email probably tomorrow. So with that, seems like we have no other questions. So thank you everyone, and this concludes the webinar.
Thank you for joining everyone.
Thank you.